Hello, this is Dr. Linda Martinez-Louis. I want to speak with you about how covert narcissistic spouses reactivate childhood trauma. When we have repeated childhood trauma experiences, they become etched in the nervous system and psyche and body. Always in a state of survival, fight or flight, this person is in the process of making every effort to save himself from some form of horrific consequence. Dr. Bessel van der Kolk is a world expert on every aspect of trauma, childhood trauma, complex PTSD, disassociation, etc. In his book, The Body Keeps the Score, he says of trauma, quote, "The essence of trauma is that it is overwhelming, unbelievable, and unbearable," closed quote. And in another reference, he says, quote, "Long after a traumatic experience is over, it may be reactivated at the slightest hint of danger," close quote. First of all, I want to talk to you about the fact that if a person has not experienced childhood trauma, it is very difficult for them to understand its true, powerful impact and the pain that is connected with childhood trauma. Other individuals, even family members and friends, simply don't get it. They want you to move on. They say, what's past is past. For the person, the child who suffers trauma, the past is present. That's what Dr. van der Kolk is talking about. These individuals in the family and other people that you know can become very irritated and bored with your discussing the effects that childhood trauma has had on you. But that doesn't mean that this isn't true. Of course, it is true. And you know this every single day. With childhood trauma, there is a complete unpredictability that occurs that makes it all the more horrifying. These children lack sleep. They have nightmares. They're always bracing themselves for some dreadful event. Now, trauma can occur as one really dreadful incident, but very likely it is a series, a pattern of chronic treatment by the parental figures. And this takes place over many, many years of repeated abuse and deprivation. So it makes sense that an individual with this kind of a background of childhood trauma would choose a person, a covert narcissist, since you didn't feel entitled. You were not looking for a relationship where you would necessarily feel secure or safe. However, covert narcissists are such consummate actors that they convince the person that they are safe, that they are stable, that they can be trusted, even though the opposite is true. Another aspect of being married to a covert narcissist as it relates to your childhood trauma is you early on learn to make excuses for the parental abuses and deprivations in your childhood. You were telling yourself that they could and would change if only you could be a better child, a more obedient child, a more consistent one, etc. And you tried harder and harder each time, and nothing seemed to change. But the hope was always there that if you made these changes, then the parent would treat you differently and would no longer abuse you. Now, with some children, they don't think of it as abuse because they didn't know any different. So this is just their regular expectation. You, as a little child, could never have known that this was absolutely not the way you deserve to be treated. You deserve to be treated with respect, with warmth, with empathy, with love, and also with a very close and loving attachment to the parent or parents. And this simply wasn't the case if you suffered childhood trauma and deprivation. And the deprivation is a complete dismissing of this child, ignoring them, acting as if they don't even exist in many cases. There's also a complete lack of solid, warm attachment to the child when you are subject to childhood trauma. These children never feel safe, ever. And so it would make sense, too, that as adults, they would be drawn to individuals who would take tremendous advantage of them. It absolutely is not your fault that you have been attracted to a covert narcissist as a spouse and that you would not recognize that this is that person's true nature. They are incredible actors who wear many, many masks. And one of the masks that they wear is a person who can be absolutely trusted, who's reliable, who really cares deeply about you, who wants to do everything they can to make you feel secure, happy, and that they are proving every moment that they are a very caring and loving partner. This is how well they have rehearsed their act all of their lives. When you find out that this individual finally realizes that there's something very wrong with this person's character, this is a time when you make a decision that you will no longer put up with this level of abuse on the part of your covert narcissistic spouse. And you decide also that you're going to put yourself first, no matter what. You could not do that as a child because you were in survival mode all the time. There was no way of doing that. And your parent, your narcissistic parent, was not going to do that for you as well. They were constantly projecting on you, terrorizing you, abusing you in various ways. So there was nothing protective or safe about that at all. But now you realize that you are a person who deserves to be treated with respect, with calmness, with acceptance of all of your authentic self, your creative gifts. So you can move forward now as you finally see that you are entitled to Live with self-care each day, getting the sleep that you need and deserve, the rest, hydration, nutritious food, the use of all of your creative gifts, immersing yourself in nature, exercise and movement that agrees with you, and that also you will meet individuals whom you can trust. You will. There may just be a few of them, but they're pure gold, and you will meet them and finally recognize that these people are really care about you and absolutely can be trusted in every way. Now you're moving forward on the road less traveled, a very fine road, however, that is always moving you even deeper into the true, authentic self.